Hi, in this tutorial we're going to show you how to get a ground texture into Trainz. So first I'll select the texture that you want to use. This is our example texture, which will be a bunch of rocks, and you'll have to work out what resolution you want the texture to be at. So for instance, we've got this at 1024 by 1024, which is a fairly high-res texture. 2048 by 2048 is the highest you can go. If you don't need this high resolution, you can drop it down to 512 or even 256 if you wanted to. Anyway, when you have the texture and the resolution you require, that's 100%, so that's my 1024 by 1024. We save this out, and we save it as a TGA file, and I've got an example asset here that I'll run through soon to tell you all the components of it. But we'll save that out as summer.tga, which is our diffuse texture for the season summer. So we save that one out. Save it as 24-bit. We don't need 32 because we're not using the alpha channel for anything. And when we save that out, we can jump into our example asset here. You can see we just saved that file out there. And just for an example of your resolution, for those of you who might have questions about that, we'll drop this in. This is a 1024 by 1024. We go to preview that. And that's what 1024 by 1024 resolution is going to look like in game. Zoom right out there. There's a lot of tiling going on with this texture, so you wouldn't use it in a big area. You would only use small amounts of it, so you wouldn't get that tiling effect happening when you do use this on your routes. But obviously, the best thing to do would be to create a texture like this one. If you are going to use it over a large area that doesn't generate a lot of tiling. So you can see there that's a grass texture, and it doesn't have too much tiling effect to it. So keep that in mind when you're creating your textures. So back to our example, I'll delete that one. If we were to make this 256 by 256, you're going to find that it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot more pixelated as you start to check this out in the game. So we'll preview that one. This is 256 by 256. The other one was 1024 by 1024 by 1024. So you can zoom in there and it's very pixelated. So that's the difference. You want to get a nice high quality ground texture. I mean, it looks good from here, but when you're taking screenshots up nice and close, it starts to look very ugly. So it's just something to keep in mind. So let's revert back to our 1024 by 1024, which is that. Save it out, and we're done now with our diffuse texture for summer. The next one we'll create is a diffuse texture for winter. And we're basically just going to blow some of these values out so it looks like snow is on our pebbles or rocks. Just going to play with some of these levels here till you get the right look that you want. Probably going to be somewhere around there, but we'll just go with that for now. So that's going to be our winter. We save that one out over the winter.tga file. Again, 24-bit, because we don't really need to worry about the alpha channel. So we save that out. And then we want a normal map as well. So we're going to take a copy of this diffuse texture, and we're going to run a program called NDO2. There's plenty of other applications out there that create normal maps if you need them. You can create them from scratch if you like, but this is a pretty handy tool. So it goes with Photoshop. Once you've got the texture you've got selected, load ND02 up, hit convert, and it's converted the wrong. Got a couple other things open here. That's not what we wanted to convert. We want to convert this one. There we go. So that's what our normal map is going to get us when the lighting starts to hit. It'll look similar to that. It's a little rough at the moment, so what we'll do is we will fade off. Get back to that. We'll fade off this, and we'll change our contrast to this. Hopefully it stops picking up that other image. Sorry about that. Come on, pick yourself up. Of course not. Things are never easy, hey? Alright, hang on. I'll just close these other windows down that I have. There we go. Right. Start again. Sorry about this. Delete this. Put down our texture. ND02. Okay, convert that. And we're going to take the fall off so it's less harsh. And increase the fall off, take the contrast down. You start to see it's getting a lot less harsh than when we started. So we save that out. That's going to be the normal map. Also, we want to open our channels up and get an alpha map in here. That's going to be used for our specular. Let's have a look. Put that in there and change the levels of specular. So anything that's white is going to, or the brighter it is, the more light's going to be let through. The darker it is, the less light. So we can really start to play around with this, and anything that's got white on it is going to be a nice specular on it, and anything that's dark is going to have no specular. Well, anything that's black will have no specular. The darker it gets, the less specular it has. So we're going to go with that, and it's probably a bit overdone. So we turn the levels down. This one here. Somewhere around there. So that's what our normal map looks like, and that's what our specular map looks like. And they're on the same one of the normal map. They're on the same texture. So we save that out. This time we're going to save it as a TGA on the normal.tga, and we're going to save it as a 32-bit non-compressed. And that's all we have to do with that. If we jump to our asset, if I can find it, this one here, we now have our 3 textures that we've saved out. There's some 3 texture files that go along with it. They just basically tell Trainz that this is a normal map. So it goes normal.texture.txt and normal.tga. They go hand in hand. It says the primary texture, which is RGB, is normal.tga. There's an alpha channel which still uses normal.tga, which is that texture. There's tiling for X and Y, and then it's a normal map, hint equals normal map. Trainz can generate this stuff if you don't have that file already included, so when you drop this asset in, it'll generate those files anyway. And you can look at it on the wiki to see Trainz.texture files, and they'll explain what all these things do as well. But take my word for it, you just need to have a .texture file for each of your TGA files. So winter goes with winter, summer goes with summer, and then you need a thumbnail which kind of shows you what to expect when people download this asset if you put on the DLS or you want to see it in game in Content Manager. So enough babbling. We'll go to the config.txt file to explain some of this now. First off, obviously you need a keyword for your ground texture. The username is obviously going to be what shows up for the name of the asset in Trainz. There's a kind, which is what it actually is, and this is a ground texture. Every ground texture is a ground texture, funnily enough. So that's the kind of it. The category class is GS. You can look up what Trainz category classes are, but that's a ground texture code name, so that'll be GS. The description, put whatever you want in there. I've put, this is an example only for how to create a ground texture in Trainz. The category region is where it's from. I've put Australia. This could be from anywhere really, but that's what I'm putting. Category era, I've put from the 1990s to the 2010s. You can put whatever you want. If people search on this, they're going to find this texture between those values there. Then it says what the texture is. The diffuse texture by default is the summer one, and you put summer.texture, not .tga, it's .texture, because we're using the latest 4.3 build, so you always use .texture files now. And then there's a normal texture, and it's normal.texture file. And Trainz build 4.3, so we're using the latest. Right, then you need a container called texture variants, and these 1, 0, 1, 2 are just made up. You can make those names whatever you want to be, but it's easy enough just to index them. Then there's a diffuse texture for number 0, and that's summer.texture, and then there's a normal texture, which is normal.texture, and we're calling this container 0. We could call this summer if we wanted to, call this one winter, but we're just going to call it 1 in this particular example. So there's 0, 1, 2. I've put summer and normal in again, and then for number 2 I put winter and normal. And what you'll find is when we come down to the season selector, that above the snow line is using 1. So anything above the snow line is going to use this. Sorry, anything above the snow line. You'll look at the season selector. It'll tell you what above the snow line means with that value. That's a completely different thing I was about to explain. Branch true, output season 2. And if this branch is 1, as false, sorry, output season. I really need to find look online on the wiki to explain this. Take my word for it for now. Season selector, it's basically saying above snow line, if it equals 1, then this is true, else it's false, and then it does some more Boolean operations to determine which index, or I guess a container up here it's going to be using. So we can see that we've got these seasons being called. 1's called there, 0's called there, 2's called there. It just so happens that there's a 1 here which doesn't have any reference to this stuff. So if I've confused you enough, take my word for it. Look up on the wiki what season selector does. This needs to be included in here to allow you to have seasonal assets, and this particular ground asset is seasonal. And we've made that clear with the containers and the texture variants. Then you need a thumbnail, and that's really all you need for your ground textures. We'll put this example up online so that you can download it and dissect it and have a look, and also make sure you reference the wiki to get your understanding of season selectors, texture variant containers, maybe even these other tags like category classes and whatnot. So anyway, that's the config.txt file. We'll update our thumbnail just so that it's relevant, because right now it's using a different one. You can make the thumbnail whatever you want it to be. It's nice just if you put your 2 different textures that you're using in there so that people might be able to see if you've got a seasonal texture, that is. Otherwise, if it's not a seasonal texture, then just put the 1 texture. So this is summer and winter. We'll save that out. There we go. So it's now saved out. We'll drop that into Trainz. And once it's finished installing, we'll just preview it. So that's our texture. It has a normal map. We'll show you the normal and specular. You can kind of see the specular working at the moment, but we'll show you in game when we move the sunlight around. You'll also see that if you change to season 4, 4 or 2, I can't remember. Let's have a look. Might be 2. It will go to winter, so you can see if that's working. So that is working, and it's looking very white. So we might want to adjust that just to make sure you can see the rocks a bit more. But you will see it when the light comes over due to the specular and normal. So let's have a look at that in game now. Let's go and create a route. And we'll get our texture file. We'll zoom out. It's called ground texture sample. There you go. That one. And we'll highlight this. And we'll paste that down. That's all we need to do. So we zoom in. And that's our texture as is. And if we go to change our lighting and our environment settings, you'll start to see, if you can see the sun somewhere, it'll be around. Let's have a look. There he is. You can see that this little line of specular there. You can see that on your pebbles or rocks, our asset that we've got just along here. That's the specular doing what it's meant to be doing, and then you can also see that normal map on the rocks there working with the specular. You can see it all bumped, a bit bumpy there. So that's also the effect of your normal map that you get. So as you move along slowly, you'll see it. Hopefully, I guess it's kind of hard in your YouTube video. It mightn't be enough resolution, but again, download the asset. You'll see that nice normal map and alpha channel for the specular working, so you don't get specular on these kind of black bits as well. So I hope that's given you a bit of an idea on how to create your own ground textures for Trainz. Again, look at the wiki if you need any more information, or ask on the Twitch TV forum, and on the forum thread, and we'll be able to answer anything hopefully that you are